Hi, I'm Tom, and this is Adult Game Reviews. This week I take a look at Sunbreed by Superwriter. It's currently on build 0.11, and I got it off of Superwriter's Patreon. Sunbreed really reminded me of Starfield, but before I get into that, I just shut down my Patreon and will likely relaunch in December of 2023. I will make a community post when I relaunch. Also, I just hit 5,000 subs, and I'm pushing 6,000. That's amazing. Thank you to everyone for all the support. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's get into Sunbreed. My expectations were a little high for Sunbreed, but did it succeed? Was it more Knives Out, or was it more Paul Blart Mall Cop 2? Let's find out. You play the main character who is half vampire and half human, which is very rare. You can go out during the day, again, think like Blade. You're a vampire cop, and the idea from the higher ups is that being half vampire and half human means you'll be accepted by everyone. Is that how that works?
You know the best part about being half black and half white? When I grow up, I'll be accepted by everybody.
The game starts with you living with your two human female friends, and you are bonded to two vampire female friends. The first thing I noticed is how beautiful one of them is, Nadja. Some of the face renders are great. The backgrounds are very cookie cutter though. The thing that Sunbreed does really well is world build. There's a lot going on in the world. There are vampire clans like the Vampire the Masquerade, but vampires are common knowledge, and vampires are forbidden from actively feeding on humans. So there are blood centers where humans can donate blood to maintain the balance. This is awesome, and there are quite a few more interesting bits of info about the world that I absolutely love. There is music, but no sound effects at all, and the music was nothing special, but at least it existed, if you know what I mean. The writing was also pretty good. There was no spelling or grammatical issues except for the rare typo. Also, the vampires spoke in more formal tones compared to everyone else, which did help differentiate who was speaking, which was a nice touch. There's a decent amount of lewd content right there in the average range, and the quality is pretty decent with some animations. Okay, so now is where I have to give everyone a heads up. There are a few things I want to discuss, but I think you could consider these spoilers. So if you want to play Sunbreed and don't want anything spoiled, jump to the very end. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and like the video if you like it. If you want to support my work, please think about donating with the donate button down below or donating through my PayPal link at the bottom. Okay, let's get back to the spoilers. The game starts with you investigating a murder, but why did it remind me of Starfield? Is that its story felt all over the place. I was expecting a vampire investigating a series of murders, and except for the opening sequence, you don't really do that. You investigate the murder and immediately know who it was and then set out to get revenge on the thing that killed your male caretaker. And as an aside, you do have the option to name all the relationships, but this is another problem that I had no idea what the story was like to properly name them before playing. So I went with the default, and all the girls are your friends, and you have the male and female caretakers. I get it if you're trying to skirt Patreon and Steam's rules by not having particular themes, but this felt kind of half-assed. Okay, back to the story. You know what or who the murderer is, and then are asked to investigate a gang war. And then you compete in an arena combat. And then you compete in a super prestigious Vampire Olympics. And everything felt half-assed. I thought to myself, okay, well, if this isn't a detective story, then maybe it's a revenge story. That's cool, except you don't really make that your focus. You get called in to investigate a gang war. Okay, except when investigating the gang war, it goes by so fast with very little control or challenge over what happens. This is sort of connected to the murders, but it felt very random. Then you fight in the arena, and I was like, hell yeah, this is gonna be awesome.
Actually, it was super easy, barely an inconvenience.
You win that, but it happens very quickly. Then after very long and drawn out conversations about the Vampire Olympics, the writer just skips the first two events to get to the third. All this was super lackluster. It felt rushed and incomplete. From the reusing of renders, and I don't mean like reusing backgrounds, which some of those were reused, but exactly the same renders. This was particularly noticeable when you're in your apartment with your human female friends. So after all of these events, you spend a long time trying to knock all the girls up and still don't really progress in the murders or the revenge plot. This was about the time that I lost patience with this game, so I decided to keep going, and I got to a scene where the clan leader decides to put you through a test to determine your worth.
And it's gone!
And this was so half-assed and boring that I had to stop. The last two scenes, there were choices where you could die, but they didn't really make a lot of sense. They all just seemed thrown in. So this is about the time I stopped playing. I was hoping for more LA Noire, and I got the worst parts of Starfield. From the disjointed story, the rushed events, and the lack of any real connection to anyone. This is a pass for me. I don't rate things a pass very often, but it was just so disappointing. Maybe Sunbreed can be turned around and made something that is better than just boring, but it's not there yet. If you played it, let me know what you think down below. If you haven't seen my review of Now and Then, you can check that out right here. Thanks again. Until next time.